Hello, as you can see, it is Cinco de Mayo. Just kidding. It is Halloween, and I got Danny Stone, SamMeeBee here. We're recording on Halloween. As you know, we are Rams fans, and Dan writes articles for Turf Show Times.
Yes, sir.
Upcoming Week 9, we got Rams going to Seattle. Pretty big division game. So before I keep talking, Dan, what's going on? Happy Halloween.
Hey, happy Halloween. Thank you for having me. I know we're going to talk Rams Seattle. You'll probably touch up a little bit on Rams Vikings from not today, but a week ago. Obviously, Jets Houston playing tonight. And then the breaking news, I guess, as far as Rams fans are concerned, is Puka Nacua leaving practice early today. I genuinely don't know what that means at this juncture.
Yeah, so like Dan said, I want to talk briefly real quick because I got a couple things from last week's game. And you know what? It's let's move on to the next week. It's kind of how I feel every Sunday. I'm like, gosh, let's just fast forward to next Sunday to the next game. But
Right.
I guess my biggest takeaway from the Rams Vikings was how the offensive line gave up 0 sacks. Everyone remember that touchdown where Stafford escaped the rush. That was crazy. That was my biggest staff. This is his 4th season, and that was only the 4th time he's thrown for 4 touchdowns. I don't know if he'll do it again this season, so he used his magic last
Fourth season with the Rams. Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
But this is the 4th time that he threw for 4 touchdowns in a game with the Rams. So he's averages 1 a season.
Okay.
And Kyron is going to go back from last week against Minnesota. Kyron did pretty good, 97 rushing yards, another touchdown. Hope he keeps going. Puka broke another 100 yards. We are going to talk about him in a moment because, there's reports right before we started recording that he might be injured or left practice early. But another takeaway on the defensive side, the Rams held the Minnesota 64 rushing yards because all season they've been pretty bad. The lowest all season was 122. So they kind of cut that in half, which is kind of crazy because that 122 is against Vegas, who's the second worst rush offense. Real quick, Seattle played Buffalo last week. I just want to talk about how they did leading into this week. Who are they is the true question. Started 3-0, then 0-3. Currently 4-4, tight division race. We're going to talk about that too. But I think last week Walker had a pretty bad game, 9 attempts for 12 yards. So I think the Rams rush defense is going to enjoy that. I think hopefully keep building on what they did last week. All right, I'm going to hop into this real quick. We probably know as Rams fans, a couple of seasons ago, Ernest Jones was on the Super Bowl team. He's the leader. Got traded to Tennessee in the offseason, traded to Seattle. So, Danny Stone, anything you want to talk about Ernest Jones, or I'll let you start this matchup coming up.
I think you dubbed it before I did the Ernest Jones revenge game, and I think you kind of said it in jest, but kind of not. Yeah, it's really interesting. And then in the Sean McVay he did a interview yesterday, as he normally does with the media. I guess it was a press conference, but he was virtual. Mm-hmm. And, he made a comment, something to the effect, because they're like, how about that Ernest Jones trade? And he's like, we always try to make decisions that are best for the team. I'm not going to pretend that every decision we make is best for the team, which is really interesting because reading into it, it's kind of like, oh, do you regret trading Ernest Jones? And I think I saw an article, it wasn't even our website, another website, might have been Ramswire. They kind of were writing about that. And I thought it was interesting myself. So I guess I don't know what to make of it. Obviously, if he picks off Matthew Stafford, that'll be a situation. But hey, if Matthew Stafford looks him off and gets some throws on him, or if Kyron Williams breaks an Ernest Jones tackle. So I guess we'll see. It can go either way, but I mean, I guess I'll leave it at this. It's hard to say that Ernest Jones couldn't help the Rams right now.
Now, when he was at the Rams, did he wear the green dot? Was he the leader? Because he was a linebacker, right?
He was, I think, last year. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. But I believe he's worn the green dot at times. But I think historically they usually use a safety as well. But I could be wrong, and maybe I'm talking out of turn, so I should probably do more research on that. To your point, he's definitely a leader. To your point, sure.
Because I know last week Troy Reeder, the linebacker, was wearing the green dot and went on IR. I think Thursday, right before the Thursday night game. I do believe I can't find a website that shows every team, but I'm pretty sure linebacker for most teams wears the green dot. However, last Thursday, the free safety Quentin Lake,
correct,
he's our captain, wore it. So. I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't know this. He has no picks yet. So I'm hoping Captain Q can get his first pick this weekend.
I think Sean McVay said that too. No lie, because I think he had a pick against Seattle last year or something like that, and they were saying hopefully he can get another one. We'll see.
That's probably where I heard it, because I remember hearing someone call him Captain Q. Captain Q. I'm like, what? And then I remember Reader being out, so I didn't even know who wore it. And I think you're right. This McVay interview. And actually, it's the same interview we're probably talking about where I heard this stat I want to bring up. So, again, this is from, I think, the Rams press conference or interview, not me. Puka has 19 games so far. He's broke 100 yards in 8 of them. And he's tied with Justin Jefferson, who also had 8 through 20 games. Through 20 games, the leader is OBJ with 10.
I
So
did hear that.
if Puka gets 100 in his next game, he would be sitting right behind OBJ. Or if not, he'll be tied for JJ, which is pretty cool. Both pretty good. So, but yeah, we'll hop right in.
Good company to be with for Puka.
Very great company. I mean, actually, since we're bringing him up now, like I said, it just broke, so probably not much that you have. I don't have anything to report. I mean, what are your thoughts? He hurt his knee, right? Which was his injury after week 1. Any
Reportedly injured his knee in practice, left practice. It's tough to say if it's a maintenance thing or if it's something where he's going to miss time. I mean, he looked great last week on a semi-limited snap count. I think I read on the ESPN or Sleeper, one of my fantasy apps updated me. I think it was ESPN. He played like a little over 50% of the snaps. So he looked great with the time that he had. And if he is hurt, it's a huge loss to the Rams. The Rams can obviously win without him. I believe that, especially if they have a healthy Cooper Kupp, but it's going to be a lot harder. And now that, I guess we were kind of spoiled last year with the Puka Nacua rookie season. And I really thought, I didn't expect him to have a better season this year necessarily, but I expected him to play. And I had heard that he kind of fell in the draft because of these collegiate injury concerns. And now he's getting banged up. And I don't know. It's concerning at this point, to say the least. I love the player.
And I don't know historically how late they play, but week 9, first matchup against Seattle, because I know last year they opened the season in Seattle.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. So we're going to start talking about it. I do know going into this weekend, the Rams are 3-4, but the other 3 teams are all 4-4. So really tight race, real big. Any division game is important, but this one I think is huge with everyone being so close together.
I agree.
But yeah, so I was looking it up. The Rams, this is just some stats going into the game before we're going to end with our predictions. But the Rams have run 18% of offensive plays in the red zone this season, tied for 4th best in the NFL.
Wow.
But we also have identified they don't score a lot. But I just want to highlight real quick. Seahawks have given up 19.6 points per game in the red zone this season, which is 3rd worst. I'm hoping the Rams can finally turn those red zone conversions into touchdowns. Were you going to say something there?
I just think it's going to be a lot harder to score without Puka Nacua. And I was thinking, which this ties into what I had said, the Rams were great in the red zone last week with the 4 tutties. Can they do it again?
Oh, yeah. We'll see. I mean, I'm hoping Kyron keeps that touchdown streak going, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, longest active in the league, I think, right now.
Yeah. And because, I don't want to be too biased in the Rams, so I did look up some stats on Seattle. Seahawks have gone 3 and out on only 8% of their drives, which is actually, I believe it's tied for 5th best in the NFL, while the Rams have forced 3 and outs on 9% of opponents' drives. Actually, those percentages, 8% and 9% in the 4th quarter. So the Seahawks are 5th best, and the Rams are tied for 9th worst. So interesting to see how the 4th quarter is going to play out when it gets there.
Well, and I won't bury the lead here. I'm actually going to pick Seattle, but we can kind of get into why when we get there. But I do have a lot of nervousness prior to Puka Nacua getting hurt. I just feel like the Rams have been real iffy. So I think you're bringing up good numbers, and I actually think the numbers that you're sharing kind of speak to like the shakiness of the Rams. Like, yeah, they're getting a lot of red zone drives, but up until last week, they weren't punching it in. And obviously, Kyron Williams is getting his touchdown a week, which is great. I think he even had 2 touchdowns in one game, but they need to score more than that on average, I think, especially if they're going to make a real run. And Geno Smith leads the league in passing, at least. So, and I don't think that changes after this game because I don't think Aaron Rodgers and C.J. Stroud were close to the top 5. But Geno Smith technically leads the league in passing right now, so he can air it out.
Yeah, so I know I'm one always looking at the numbers. So you exactly identified. I'm going to talk quick matchups, offense versus defense. Seattle, averages the most passing yards. Before last week, I think every time I looked at matchups, it was always green for the other team and red for the Rams because their defense was bad, but they've been improving. Seattle is number 1 in passing yards. Rams passing defense is 16th, so not too bad. Seattle rush attack, though, is ranked 29th. Rams, while improving, are still 23rd. So you have bad rush offense, bad rush defense. Seattle is 20th in sacks given up, so they give up a lot, but the Rams are 25th in sacks, so they're not even getting to the quarterback. Flipping it though, look at the Rams offense. It's they're 14th in passing yards, and Seattle passing defense is 14th. So on paper, they're even there. But the rushing's the same. The Rams are ranked 26th, pretty low, and then Seattle's rush defense is pretty low, 29th. So something's got to give. You got two bad rush offenses versus bad rush defenses. The only real difference right now is takeaways and giveaways. The Rams are even. They've turned the ball over 8 times, but also took away the ball 8 times. Seattle is -4 with 8 takeaways, but giving the ball away 12 times. So on paper, I mean, look at stats. They're pretty average, and they're pretty close. So it comes down to the real thing. Gino said, is the 12th man still there? Did you hear about that? He's worried about the 12th man.
I got Adam Schefter update. According to ESPN and Sleeper, knee injury not believed to be serious at this time. So that's huge. That is a relief. I'm sorry that I'm cutting you off, but it just came up on my phone, and I thought you'd want to hear that.
I do want to hear that because they said before we go into the game, I was wondering, did you hear Geno Smith talk about the 12th man? He said that he doesn't feel the home field advantage.
I'm thrilled you brought that up, and forgive my excitement, but I've never, and I don't mean to speak in hyperbole, but I have not heard that about Seattle. I've heard that about Rams house between the Niners fans and even the Raiders fans because they were Oakland originally. But I have not heard an away team taking over Lumen Field in Seattle, something like that, whatever, taking over 12th man stadium. If I got the stadium name wrong, I sincerely apologize, but we're not monetized, so it's all good. But yeah, incredible. It was incredible to hear Geno Smith say that. And I didn't write an article, but I probably should have. I just didn't make the time. But I kind of wondered, and maybe this is more of a fan post, was Geno Smith calling out the fan base a little bit? Like, hey, man, like, why aren't you guys showing up? So I'm thinking the script is going to be a little flip this week as far as I don't think noise is going to be a problem for Seattle. It is going to be a problem for the Rams.
So I don't know if you said it before because there are some teams that travel well. Pittsburgh, Green Bay, and Buffalo, who they play.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
Don't come out after Buffalo played you. Of course, their fans are traveling. Like, it'd be different if it was someone else, you know. I'm like, that was probably a bad game to say that after.
Well, and they do, because I know I have some family. They'll do like full-on flights where you can reserve a flight just to go to a Bills game. Like, they get enough people to fill up a plane. So they do travel well. Is what I'm trying to say. I agree. Yeah. Still, though, I mean, you're literally in Seattle. You're telling me there's more Buffalo fans in Seattle than Seattle fans? Like, maybe, but I find that hard to believe. But either way, the Bills mopped them. And I think that after a loss like that, even if the Rams win, I expect Seattle to come out swinging. Their backs up against the wall. I mean, this team was 3-0, and now they're 4-4. Like, that is a pretty stark. They've started diving a little bit, is what I'm saying.
True. All right. Well, now talk about what you guys are here for, the actual game itself.
Sure.
When I started looking at my research, I see because of Puka news, it's been affecting some numbers. So I will say, right now on Halloween, 10/31 at 8:55 p.m. Eastern Time, the Rams are favored by 1 point, and the total is 48.5. So, Dan, tell me, what's your prediction? Who do you have winning?
That has shifted because Seattle was favored earlier in the week, so that's funny. My article that I'm going to publish, and I'll link the video in, I actually have Seattle, I think, 23, Rams 20. And one of my last lines is, this is a game that the Rams should win, but it's also a game the Rams could lose. And I'm going to pick Seattle. And it's not a reverse jinx thing so much as which Rams team are we going to see? Are we going to see this dominant? Because, like, I'm not trying to ask for trouble, but if Puka Nacua play and Cooper Kupp play, and let's just for sake of argument assume the Rams stay mostly healthy, like, they should mop Seattle up, I think. Like, but I don't think that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a tough division game. I think Seattle can actually win with a walk-off field goal and kind of stun McVay and the Rams. I also think, to your point, I know you said that Seattle's rushing attack isn't very good. I guess I'm surprised by that because Kenneth Walker's having such a good fantasy season, and maybe his good stuff is coming in the passing game. I know we had our Raiders friend Andrew talking about that over-the-shoulder catch that Kenneth Walker made a couple weeks ago. So the Rams, we've seen it. They've had, whether it was DeAndre Swift, not so much Jordan Mason, I don't think, but DeAndre Swift, I think James Conner, when they played, of course, everybody had a huge game for the Cardinals against the Rams. Point being, Rams have kind of struggled. Alexander Madison, I think, had a nice little dump off. They seem to be struggling against pass catching backs, which makes sense because their linebacking core is not, I wouldn't say I would say not a top unit in the league, respectfully. I really like those players, but they seem to struggle in that area, the intermediate area.
Yeah, I mean, it is surprising. You said Walker last week, 9 attempts for 12 yards. I mean, they were playing against Buffalo, but they were kind of in it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And the
And
Rams,
maybe I shouldn't say intermediate area, but short, just passing, dump offs to running backs. I'm sorry. I just want to correct myself.
I think the Rams have been improving on the rush defense. So I think this is I think that's the matchup I'm looking forward to going into this is how does the Rams rush defense go against Walker, who's pretty good. And even their backup, Charbonnet, or however you say it, he's pretty good. You know?
Zach Charbonnet. He's good too.
And the Rams are, I think, second youngest team. Most of that's on defense. You know, it's crazy how young they are. So you gave out your prediction. I had the Rams winning 27-20. I originally had it a little higher, but then I don't think it's going to go over 48, so I'm taking under that. This morning, I was doing some research on numbers, and this is from MGM. It was passing yards for Stafford was 243.5. Right now, it's 239. So I know the news for Puka is probably still up in the air, but it just shows how quickly odds can move on that. And because originally I was going to take over Puka 69.5 yards, over Stafford 243, and over for one interception for Geno Smith. So those are things I was targeting. But with the Puka news, I'm going to wait on the Stafford passing yards and Puka, but I'm probably still going to take Geno Smith through an interception.
That sounds like a nice little parlay if you wanted to roll them all together. Not that I'm a big gambler, but
I said this morning. I don't know why I said this morning. It's actually lunchtime. It's only a few hours ago, and it was all three together at the time was plus 400 on MGM. That's the sports book I prefer using. Sure. Just for fun. I know you have Seattle winning. Who do you have scoring the first touchdown in this game? You know, I always love asking that.
You know what? I'm gonna say the Rams. I've got a feeling on this. I think the Rams start with the ball. Kyren Williams punches it in, but I think Seattle comes out, answers. Of course, they don't have DK Metcalf, SamMeeBee, and that's a big deal. I like DK Metcalf, but he's a Seahawk, and as a Rams fan, but also like he just makes these weird, we've talked about it before, whether it's fumbles or getting weird taunting penalties. He has these, I don't want to call them mental lapses, because I think part of his game is being a passionate player that way. And he's really good. But either way, not having DK Metcalf, you know, maybe I should just pick the Rams, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go Kyren Williams to answer your question, though. First tutty of the game.
Same thing I had. I had Rams starting with the ball. I had them going downfield. I had Kyren probably doing a 1-yard rush. So that's exactly what I was thinking. So kind of on the same page for that. But all right, so in closing, I'm thinking, you know, this is a good game for the Rams. I hope they win. San Francisco's on a bye. So if the Rams win, I don't know what's going to happen with Arizona, but if Arizona loses, all 4 teams have 4 wins. It gets real interesting. And the Rams have I guess we call it extended rest because following this week, they play Monday night against Miami. They host Miami, so no traveling. So we'll definitely probably do a video for that. So in closing, again, I have the Rams winning. Any closing remarks from you, Danny Stone?
You know what? I'm really glad we could do this. I kind of like the short form video. I don't have any grand takeaways or grand gestures other than I'm really looking forward to the game. I'm really hoping the Rams can find a way to win so that they can like get rocking and rolling. Like, let's go. Let's beat Seattle. Let's start actually like they're on a 2-game win streak. Let's keep it going. Make me a believer again. Right now, I love the team. I love Sean McVay. I'm just not sure that they're ready to be dominant. Like you said, the defense is young. They've got some injuries on the offense. I believe they have the talent, but are they going to actually get it done? Like, we're going to have to kind of wait and see, you know?
Yeah.
What about you? What you got for me?
No, that was it. So I'm taking the Rams 27-20. We're going to post this video and then catch our next video when we do every game, just pick our winners. So thank you for tuning in.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.